Welcome. I'm Sarah Lomax-Reese. I'm the president and CEO of WURD Radio, and we are co-hosting today's event with Green Philly.
Hi, I'm Julie Hancher. I'm co-founder and editor of Green Philly.
So this is, there are a lot of firsts for today. It's the first time that we've collaborated with Green Philly, so we're really excited about that. This is the first event for EcoWURD, which is WURD's new environmental kind of justice initiative. We launched EcoWURD in September of 2018, and it's really an exploration of the intersection between race, income, and the environment here in Philly. And so in 2019, we're going to be doing a series of events, and so today is our first one, and we're really excited to be doing it in partnership with Green Philly. And obviously the focus of today's event is the future of work in Philly's green economy. So we're going to be talking with a number of amazing people who are in the space of sustainability and environmental green jobs and environmental justice and all of those things. So very excited to hear from our 7 presenters. I just want to, before I hand it over to Julie to give some greetings, some additional greetings, I want to thank our sponsors and our supporters, CUSP, which is in partnership with the Office of Sustainability in the City of Philadelphia and Solar States, and our partner with PAFA, Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. This is their beautiful new Rodin Arts Center. So that's another new development. This is our first event in this space because it's just opening. So I'm really excited that we're going to be doing more things with PAFA, and. Yeah, I think I'm going to hand it over to Julie to give some additional greetings.
Thank you, Sarah, for that warm greeting as well. Yeah, welcome everyone, and thank you for coming today. Green Philly, we've been around since 2008 and have started doing events the last several years and try to help people live a sustainable lifestyle. And this past fall, I found EcoWURD and loved the content and what everything was happening on the website. So we're really excited for this collaboration because sustainability should be accessible, easy, and something that everyone in Philadelphia can achieve. So between the speakers today, our tables out there, we have 8 great organizations who are sharing about green job opportunities and what they're doing to help clean the environment and other things that people can learn about. So if you've not checked those tables out, feel free to do that after the talks today.
Excellent. Thanks. Wonderful. Thank you. So just before I bring up Brooke Anderson, who is the museum director for PAFA, to give some greetings from PAFA, just wanted to let you guys know about the structure of the program. So we are broadcasting live, so whatever you say in our Q&A session will be heard over the airwaves and through the internet, et cetera. And we're going to have 7 amazing presenters who are going to give brief presentations. Then we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to then have question and answers from the audience to the panel. So, jot down your questions and any thoughts you have during the presentations, and you'll have an opportunity to engage with the presenters after the last one concludes during our Q&A. So thank you all for coming. I know the weather's a little wonky, and it's a Saturday, so it's wonderful to see all of you here. And I'm going to ask Brooke Anderson to come up and give some greetings from PAFA before we get started.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to PAFA. Welcome to Brooke, and welcome to PAFA. So I'm having one of those Saturdays. We're so thrilled to be partnering with WURD and Green Philly and all of the other vendors who are out front. It's great to see this space being utilized by the community. We opened this space 2 weeks ago. This is the John Rodin Arts Center, and when you have a minute, please take a moment to look at the sculptures that are in the vitrines to the right and left of you. Those are works by Birmingham-born Brooklyn lived African-American artist John Rodin, and we are the caretakers for his estate of about 280 sculptures. There'll be an exhibition that will be featured in about 2 years. Meanwhile, what I wanted to invite you all to see today, when you have a break and when you have a minute, is actually an exhibition that's very connected to the landscape and the environment. An exhibition that's on view in the building next door, PAFA's historic landmark building. Reena Banerjee, Make Me a Summary of the World. Reena considers herself an environmentalist. She has a lot in common with all of us. And her 70 works of art explore her concerns about what we're doing to the environment, whether they're works on paper or sculpture. And I invite you all to come next door as my guests today to see that exhibition, which is on view through March 31st. It's a phenomenal show. Reena's also interested in feminism and colonialism and many other things as a contemporary sculptor, but she hits right in the center of what you're discussing here today. And then, if I may, in June, we're opening an exhibition that explores Philadelphia's landscape from a more art historical point of view, but we're looking for partners during the show who are concerned about the environmental future in Philadelphia. So I think we've just found a couple of partners this morning, so I'm thrilled that you're here for that reason too. We're going to be looking at an exhibition that opens in June and will be up for several months that explores how the Philadelphia landscape actually defines the beginning of the American landscape tradition and art history. And this is actually a very radical idea because most art historians will talk about how the landscape tradition in America started in New York. Well, our curator, Dr. Anna Marley, has done a lot of research and is going to show through her exhibition of about 150 landscapes that celebrate the Philadelphia environment. The traditions actually started here in the 1700s and the 1800s, and largely through the teachings at PAFA. So we're going to be challenging some stereotypes and long-held notions about art history with this somewhat radical exhibition that takes the center away from New York and places it squarely here in Center City, Philadelphia. So I invite you to come back when we can further talk about the landscape of our history and how that is relevant to our landscape of the future. Have a great time today. It's so nice to see you here, and I hope you'll come back often. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, we're going to get this party started. And really excited. Thank you again, Brooke, for your greetings. And again, a thanks to PAFA for creating this wonderful art center that's open to the community and to organizations like ours. So we're going to get our speakers queued up. Our first speaker is Jerome Shabazz, and Jerome Shabazz is the executive director for the Overbrook Environment and Education Center. And in 1998, Jerome and Gloria Shabazz established JASTECH, Juveniles Active in Science and Technology Development Services, Inc., to ensure a more livable, sustainable, and equitable community in the city of Philadelphia. In 2002, JASTECH established the Overbrook Environmental Education Center as a community-based center dedicated to the preservation of our built and natural environments, improved public health, and for the promotion of sustainable and livable communities. So welcome. Come up, Jerome Shabazz. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Sarah, Julie, WURD, and all of our wonderful co-panelists. I appreciate being here today, and also appreciate the fact that you guys weathered the storm and weathered the bad weather to come out here. But we wanted to make sure that we got here and to talk about this wonderful topic around the green economy. As Sarah indicated in the introduction, my wife and I were fortunate enough to have the vision to think about what could we do to set in motion some kind of structure that would allow our young people, particularly in our urban communities, to see their environment as an integrated part of their lives. We found that our young folks had this sort of fanciful idea of the environment, that it was polar bears and penguins and the North Pole and the South Pole, but it wasn't West Philly, North Philly, Germantown, or the places where they lived, worked, played, or educated themselves. And we wanted to turn that model upside down. We wanted to have an actively engaged process by which we were working in schools and working with young people and getting them to see that taking care of the environment is a natural part of your existence. When I was younger, my mother used to say that you need to clean up your room or you're not civil. And so we realized that part of our civilization is about the management of your waste. And so part of what we were able to come into, and for myself personally, I was able to come into the realization that managing our waste, managing our energy is the major part of where job opportunities are. And that management is the part of the process that we try to emphasize. You know, we like to think of it as if the environment is something that's hidden in plain sight. We don't think about what's in our air until it bothers us. We don't think about what's in our water until it becomes a problem for us. But the truth of the matter is we should be integrated and concerned about the quality of our air, our water, our land all the time. Because our food comes from our land, correct? And our water is something that we can't go too far without. How many days? 3 days, 4 days max. We need water. So one of the things that we wanted to do in our educational process is to get our young people to stop looking just vertically. We wanted them to begin to look up and to look down, to look at the world that's underneath their feet. So we have this picture behind us of a sewer. And this sewer is in Mill Creek. And we always talk about the idea that there's things going on underneath your feet all the time. We have 3,000 miles from here to California, 3,000 miles of water line. We have sewer lines. We have cables. We have all kinds of infrastructure that we need to take care of and maintain. The most important thing to realize about that is that the maintaining of that is an opportunity for work. It's an opportunity for us to take care of ourselves, to be able to have a greater role in the quality of our water, and the quality of our air, and the quality of our land. When we talk about job creation at the Overbrook Center, we've had the opportunity to work with young people who are in career technical education divisions. We've had about 10,000 students in our programming. And these students are now in careers and opportunities that enable them to live in a way by which their work is benefiting the quality of their community's life. And so the integration around understanding what's going on in your environment and your relationship to it is an important part of our process. It's very important, too, to see the social connection to the work. When we walk down our communities, the children used to always say, well, Mr. Shabazz, why is there so much trash in our neighborhoods? Trash is not just something that appears. It's something that manifests by way of a thought. If I thought that this microphone was trash, then it will be trash. But if I thought it had value, I'll hold on to it. So what we're doing with our programming is we're making sure that we're integrating our young people into the awareness that their land, their air, their water is something that has to be maintained. The big part of the economy is about the economy of maintenance, preserving the land, the water, the air that we have in our environment. Now, what's interesting for me is that my wife will tell you, and my lovely wife is over there, and she will tell you it takes me about 5 minutes to sneeze. So for me to have 5 minutes to talk about 20 years of work is almost impossible. But I really do appreciate the opportunity to come here today and to share with you, hopefully on the back end, a lot more of the work that we've done at the Overbrook Environmental Education Center. And I look forward to hearing a bit more from our presenters because I know they have wonderful things to say. Thank you so very much. Here's some of our kids learning how to see what's underneath their feet.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you, Jerome. Yeah, I know this is tough. 5 minutes, it seems like a long time when theoretically, but it is not long at all when you're talking about something as massive and as all-encompassing as the environment and infrastructure and green economies and all of those things. So, but we're going to have more time to interact with our presenters a little bit later. Right now, I want to welcome Todd Bailson to the stage. He is the entrepreneurial and civic public policy planning and design professional riding the solar coaster. You guys got that, solar coaster. Specialties and areas of interest are public policy, governmental affairs, community development, urban planning and urban design, real estate investing and development, civic technology and technology for governments, and solar energy and sustainability. And he is here with us today from Solar States. Welcome, Todd Bailson.
Thanks, Sarah. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Good morning. Thanks all for being here. Let me join the chorus of folks saying thank you to Julie, Sarah, and PAFA. My colleague Kai is also going to speak, so we're going to kind of split up the solar industry into two manageable chunks as it relates to today's discussion. I work for Solar States doing business development. We're the only, to the best of my knowledge, Philadelphia-based solar installation company. We're a B Corp. We're at the corner of North American and Jefferson in South Kensington, so please come visit anytime. And we're a community-based organization, so we do events like this. We have a local hire and workforce development program. We do a lot of partnerships with nonprofits, governments, and we try to have our tentacles kind of as deep as we can go because we're trying to sell solar and we need as much help as we can get. I'm going to focus my remarks on kind of three basic topics. They say people remember things in threes, so hopefully you'll just keep these simple concepts in mind when you think about solar. The first is that we're really fighting a reputation going on 20 years that solar is too expensive. Everyone, the first thing they hear when they think about solar is my roof going to leak? And then right after that, they say, isn't solar too expensive? And we're working hard to combat that. There's a couple ways that we're doing that. First is that pricing has come down on solar equipment 80% in the last decade. It's an astonishing number, and it's going lower still. And we're a part of that solution. Everyone needs to get their prices down, and we actively work on that, either voluntarily or through bidding, where we have to be the lowest bidder. The other thing is that it's really important to think about our energy, and I really didn't do it a lot till I got into the solar industry, but we reflexively sign up with the utility for energy, and then we just pay it every month. And there's actually a lot that goes into that payment and a lot that comes in with that bill. There's environmental pollution and degradation from fossil fuels. There's workforce solutions that really aren't being fully considered with the energy industry. There's grid resiliency in the face of storms and other challenges. And solar can be a real solution to all that whole assembly of things. And it's still not the most mature industry, but what I want to leave you with is if you own a home, or in some cases rent a home, if you own a business, you're in a building, it's very possible that through either a loan product or a creative financing approach, we can get your solar energy at the same cost you're paying the utility. And come chat with me afterwards to discuss that more. But it's very important that people understand that solar is not necessarily more expensive than just reflexively signing up. The second most important thing that I want to leave you with is about the growth of the industry, what's possible. And it's really germane to why we're here today to talk about green-collar jobs. To put it in perspective a little bit, nationally, 2% of eligible rooftops have solar. That means, like they talk about the Silicon Valley hockey stick growth, it's totally possible if we get the public policy right for solar to grow at an astonishing pace. 98% of the eligible rooftops in the country don't have solar yet. It's a huge growth curve and a tremendous business opportunity with tons and tons of hiring, much of it locally. And these are family-sustaining jobs. And to put that in perspective locally, we partnered with some other vendors on a program with the city of Philadelphia called Solarized Philly, and Laura is outside, has a Solarized Philly table, so we can talk about that. It's a group buying program to bring the cost of buying solar down. The Solarized program, over 2 phases, signed 363 contracts. That's huge for us. Each of them is, depending on if you're financing or buying cash, between 10 and 20 grand worth of dollar to solar states. But to put it in perspective, there's 580,000 tax parcels in the city of Philadelphia. So we are celebrating 0.00001% of the property owners in the city getting solar. The potential is astonishing. Last thing I'm going to leave you with is that we're at a really critical time in energy in Pennsylvania. Not a lot of people know this yet, but if you read the paper, you'll start to see it more. 3 Mile Island, which is a well-known nuclear generator that's about 60 miles north of here, it's owned by a company called Exelon. They've said they're going to close 3 Mile Island this summer if there isn't a financial bailout from the state legislature. And nuclear is a complicated topic. There's a lot of environmentalists who have a lot of views on it. But what it's creating is an opening in Harrisburg, which is very hard to get, for the solar industry to get dramatically improved public policy for PA. The New Jersey solar market, 4 to 5% of that time, 4 to 5% of the energy in New Jersey comes from solar. In Pennsylvania, it's less than half of 1%. We have the chance to change that in the next couple months in Harrisburg, and at the appropriate time, we're going to hopefully reach out to all of you to get your help. Again, I'll be out in the lobby afterwards and look forward to talking with you more about solar. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd Baleson. Yeah, we know that Philly is, I hate this dubious distinction, but is the poorest big city in the country. So one of the reasons we wanted to really focus in on jobs and in this new economy is because there is a disconnect between these opportunities that are being shared today about the things available in the green economy and our community. And so we want to try and bridge that gap. And I'm glad that Todd is here. And we're talking quite a bit about solar because that is such a growth industry. And so next up, we've got Kai Sanders. And Kai is a native of North Philadelphia and is committed to supporting her community to create opportunities for sustainable economic development in the solar industry. She's currently a solar technician, installer, and trainer at Solar States and has been working in the solar field for 3 years. So we're going to hear from somebody who is like on the ground really doing the work. So come on up, Kai Sanders.
How everybody doing? Good. How everybody doing? Great. There you go. Anybody that knows me knows that we interact, we talk to each other. That's how we do on the roof. That's how I'm going to do you guys. Pretty much like Todd said, I'm an installer. It says it there on the screen. My thing is this, the group of people that I like to talk to is nobody in this room. I like to talk to young people because those are the people that are going to make the difference. There's a ton, I'm going to wave back to you. I see you. I see y'all. How y'all doing? No, but yeah. So my main focus is really learning how to intersect community with solar and how to make it accessible to people who normally don't see it as a way of being accessible. So I've trained, as a trainer, I've trained people at pretty much all the programs that PEA has to offer. So that's OIC, ECA, the pilot programs with the school district. So I had my hands in a bunch of different things in that way, but mainly I just wanted to talk on the point of how we just need to get the young people more involved in solar, especially solar, because Todd gave you the numbers that I never remember or I fluffed them up. But yeah, it's huge. Not having people from North Philadelphia, West Philly, South Philly, the Northeast, all over, not involved in solar is really ridiculous because there's only one company, I work for them, that's based in Philadelphia. So there's opportunities here in the city, there's opportunities around the city for solar, and there's not no one really training for it in the schools, and there's not a huge awareness for it as big as I feel like it should be. This should be just as important as an auto shop class or a wood shop class. So STEM is huge. And so going into public policy, I feel like STEM is something that's not touched on enough in classes, because I see students who all the time go, what is that? I go, a ruler, that's fractions, let's get busy with fractions, and they're looking at me like I got 20 heads. That's not okay. So my thing is this, making sure that STEM is taught in school. So anytime I get a chance to talk to someone that is a teacher or in the school district, I'm screaming STEM. Anytime that someone in the, because like I said, I work for the school district and I was in there with them, I'm like, hey, can we get some more solar classes? Not just to juniors and seniors, can we involve the freshmen all the way up? This is something that should be taught all the way in elementary school because you need the sun to make plants grow and, we need plants to eat. So I think this is all should be, taught in science classes. But, I'm just a solar installer. So, I just try to, insert my little pennies and coins where I get my chance into. But I'm just here to just acknowledge the fact that solar is huge. It's important. And everyone that looks like me comes from places like me who have been through a lot, and I can stay here and tell you 20 minutes a sob story to make everyone in here cry about what I've been through and how I made my way out. How about we not have those sob stories anymore and give people opportunities so they don't have to have the sob story in the first place? So that's my focus. Am I out of time? No, I'm still good? Okay. Normally, anybody that knows me know I could talk for hours. I'm trying to be short and sweet with everything, so don't mind me. I'm all over the place, kind of, sort of, but not really because it's all tied in together. So we need training centers for the kids. We need people to do policy changes in the office. We need someone in the school district changing STEM. I mean, it takes a community or a village to raise one child. So we're trying to raise a whole city of children. So it takes everybody to do so. So I just want to leave that on that and everybody to think about that it takes a village to raise one. We're raising how many? So just think about that and yield my time.
Kai Sanders, yes, yes, yes. I like that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And we want to reach young people too. So, and so to the extent that we can tap into your networks and engage and support their efforts, we definitely want to do that as well. So that's great. So staying on the solar tip, we're going to bring on Frank Ortiz. And Frank Ortiz is the founding member of Serenity Solar. That's SOULAR, as in soul, yes. Serenity Solar, a nonprofit solar install cooperative. Frank is a 20-year master STEM educator, academic and mechanical engineer, and adjunct professor at Temple University College of Engineering and Widener University School of Engineering. And he is the one that put us in touch with Kai. So I know Kai is a part of Serenity Solar as well. So welcome, Frank Ortiz.
Good morning, everyone. Time to breathe. All right. I'm going to start with how I got to meet Kai in the first place. This goes back 5 years ago. I was leaving from teaching for the School District of Philadelphia, not in the happiest of terms. And I knew I needed to do something different, something that I could find joyful, something that could have a positive impact on this world. What I decided was I was going to go back to Temple, study mechanical engineering, with the idea that I would start some sort of renewable energy cooperative. Why a cooperative? Well, I was working in circumstances that followed a hierarchical leadership structure that used force to get whatever it needed from everyone underneath. I didn't like that. And I saw it as crudely inefficient because what wound up happening from the top all the way down was that everyone basically did office space type foot dragging where they did the bare minimum that they could not to get fired. Fast forward. I work at Temple for a few years as an adjunct professor. While I'm studying there, they found out I used to teach physics and they hooked me up with a class. As I'm graduating, I meet a very intrepid young woman, 60 years young woman by the name of O, who, upon hearing about my ideas about physics, brought me in to meet Kai and the other founders of Serenity Solar. Now I go there thinking, this is interesting. Let me see what they have to say. Now, when I go there, I found out that not only had they had meetings, they had raised money, they had done multiple solar installs, and had in the works multiple solar installs that they had facilitated, brought in people, trained them, helped them, worked with existing solar installers on site to be able to generate electricity for multiple nonprofits. So I see this and I realize, wow, this actually has legs. I'd like to join these people. So I come in, I start attending meetings. Let me go back to what I talk about. Why did I mention a cooperative? Why? Because the truth is that this world needs to trust each other much more so than it does at present. With a cooperative, at least one that's worker-owned, you're relying on everyone that you're working with to think, consider, evaluate, judge, create. And when you do that effectively, you wind up with a superior product. You're with plans that are more likely to succeed, with adjustments that remediate whatever it is that needs to be fixed. Because we find ourselves in a very dire circumstance. Because we know, based on current CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere, if we stopped using fossil fuels today, we will have, even still, based on legacy output, we will have rising temperatures. We will have rising sea levels. This is fact. So we not only have to stop what we do now, we have to undo what we had been doing. So that is the circumstance we find ourselves. It is daunting. Now, when I posit this scenario to my students and they're like, wow, what are we going to do? We do the best that we can. We do whatever it is, even if it's a little bit, we do that. Now with Serenity Solar, we are all about hiring locally, giving people the opportunity to take care of themselves, to bring in revenue for their families so that way they can meet their needs. We're about supplying, eventually, energy to residents so that their cost of living goes down. So that way, they're in a better position to do their part for the environment. Maybe they can plant a few more trees. Maybe they can reduce their energy expenses. Maybe they can insulate their homes better. Every little bit counts. All right? And that's pretty much everything I got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank Ortiz. That was a great talk, and I love the ongoing solar power right here, all three in a row. Once again, I'm Julie Hancher from Green Philly, and I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, changing up a little bit from something that everyone loves, the sun, to something else everybody loves, which is beer. I'm very happy to introduce the co-founder and CEO of Triple Bottom Brewing Company, a new craft brewery opening up at 915 Spring Garden Street, Philadelphia, in the spring or early summer 2019. Triple Bottom Brewing is a social enterprise with a fair chance employment practice and a commitment to protecting the health of our planet. Welcome Tess Hart to the stage next.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, PAFA. And thanks to all of you for being here today. It's as someone who's working in the beer industry, it's very humbling to be here with other speakers who are doing so much on the ground, direct work, advancing and protecting the health of our planet. So thank you. Like Julie said, my name is Tess Hart. I am one of the co-founders of Triple Bottom Brewing Company. We are a social enterprise, which means that we have a social and an environmental mission. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But first, I want to sort of take a step back and talk about why we're actually in this room with all of these change makers. We really believe that true, equitable, green economy building takes all sorts of ideas and approaches. And it is so, so important that we have people who are advancing solar for everyone and who are doing environmental education and creating safe green spaces. And we also think it is important that those of us who are working on products or services that are not directly about sustainability are still trying to build them with community resilience in mind. And so that's what Triple Bottom is about. And so when I talk about what we're doing, it's going to seem a lot less direct, I think, than much of the other work that the other speakers are talking about. But we still believe it's really important and part of that ecosystem of creating positive environmental change for everyone in the city of Philadelphia. So Triple Bottom Brewing Company is very much a work in progress right now. We're under construction. And so most days we're there with, our hammers and our drills and not doing much with beer yet. But we're hoping to open in late spring. And we really hope that all of you actually come when we open. We would love to see you there. And in addition to brewing beer and serving it in our tap room, we are focused really on two other bottom lines. So our name is Triple Bottom because we have a triple bottom line. So we make beer, we care about our impact on the community, and we care about our impact on the planet that supports us all. So we practice fair chance employment, which means that we hire people with a really diverse array of experiences. And we're doing this actually in partnership with a couple of nonprofits who are helping us both identify and refer potential team members and provide additional supports for them as they're sort of getting back in the workforce and adjusting to other challenges that they might be dealing with in their lives. And we are, for all of our team members, offering a lot of professional development and skill building opportunities so that everyone can really have an opportunity to become a leader in whatever field they choose, whether it's, in the brewing industry, which, we love and care about, but anything else. There's so many skills that you can learn in a brewery that can translate to so many other places. So we're working really closely with our neighbors, with our nonprofit partners to create a space where everyone has opportunity. And we're also really thoughtful about how we're doing this in the most sustainable way possible. And that sort of comes with us doing a lot of learning and growing every step of the way and trying to share that journey with our team members and our customers to make sure that they're all a part of it. And we're thinking about sustainability really in sort of three specific ways to start. The first is our carbon footprint with our energy use. So we are buying renewable energy credits. We are using all LED lighting. The second is with our water. Beer uses a ton of water, both in the making of the beer and the cleaning of all of our equipment. And we're trying to reuse as much of that as possible. So we actually have separate tanks for our cleaning solution so that before we put it down the drain, we're using it over and over and over again. And when we do have to put it down the drain, we're actually treating it ourselves so that the water department doesn't have to treat all of it and we're not offsetting their processes too much. And then the final thing is our waste management. So like almost any organization, we're going to be creating a good amount of waste. And we have this giant trash room where we're sorting each individual waste stream to try to keep it out of the landfills as much as possible. We've got farmers picking up our spent grains. So we're really working hard to minimize our impact on the planet, to try to tell a different story about what a business can be in terms of building the green economy. And we do believe that it takes all sorts of ideas in order to advance the green economy. This is sort of our approach to doing it, is not directly like so many other people up here, but still, if everyone up here is doing their great work and then other businesses that are just sort of, producing products that are not as directly affecting sustainability or just going along as business as usual, that's not enough. We all need to make a difference and play a role in building this ecosystem. And so we look forward to opening and trying to play a role in it. We hope you'll come join us and help us and learn with us, and look forward to seeing you when we open. Thanks.
Thank you, Tess Hart from the Triple Bottom Brewing Company. I love hearing about all of that, and especially your mission with the social enterprises. So thanks for doing that too. I'm pleased to announce our next guest, who is the Director of Garden Programs at the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. The Pennsylvania Horticultural Society is also hosting the flower show across the street. So that's basically their Super Olympics time of the year. Super busy. Thanks for being here and making time. And our next speaker, was previously the Executive Director of the Norris Square Neighborhood Project. So please welcome Justin Trezza to the stage.
Thank you all. So I'm one of these people that have to bring my notes with me, otherwise I'm going to be rambling, and you don't want to hear me rambling. So thank you again. So yes, I'm Justin. I'm the Director of Garden Programs at the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society, and I'm gracious and thankful to be here today, taking a break from the flower show. So really quick, I want you all to imagine a scenario or a city that has allotted roughly 25 acres to residents to garden on, and each resident is given about 1/8 of an acre to grow their own food for either home consumption or to sell back. Now, it sounds kind of utopian. You might even say it sounds like communism, great socialism. That was actually Philadelphia from 1890 to about 1920. The city, through the Vacant Land Cultivation Association, had actually given out 25 acres to residents to grow on. And this was modeled off of a program in Detroit that saw a lot of success. Of course, comes World War I, World War II, that all ends, and then you see the growth of the agro-industrial complex, and boom, it's done. So it's quite impressive. And there's actually a data point that during that time, in 1920, they actually sold over $100,000 in crop yields. Doesn't sound like much money. Today, that's about $1.2 million. But you figure for 100 residents, $1.2 million is quite a large amount of money, especially for a city like Philadelphia. So, growing locally and sustainably, we all hear about that. It can truly transform Philadelphia and make us less reliant on global agricultural system that produces roughly 13% of global emissions. And that doesn't include the transportation of the food from, say, Mexico, California, wherever. And I'm not really talking about vertical farming. Sorry to those that preach hydroponics. I'm talking about farming where you actually get your hands dirty, where you smell the earth, because let's be honest, that's the only way we can really connect with Mother Nature. So a little bit about PHS. I haven't really talked about that. So we're over 200 years old, or almost 200 years old. We're the oldest horticultural society in America. And we really see ourselves as a community of people that uses agriculture to advance the greater good. And we'd like to talk about 4 kind of pillars of work that we're focused on. One is, of course, increasing access to fresh food. Another is increasing healthy living environments. Another is building deeper social connections. And finally, growing economic opportunity. So going back to land access and producing food, Philadelphia has over 40,000 vacant lots. PHS has a program called our Land Care Program, which cleans and greens those vacant lots. We manage roughly 12,000 of them, do a simple act of planting grass seed, planting some trees, putting up a fence, cleaning it. We work very closely with community partners. I know Urban Creators, who is here today, is one of the community partners that helps with that. And we also fund a lot of returning citizens to do that work and connect them with jobs in landscaping and horticulture to do this. What we found is, and this was through an extensive study done by Penn and Columbia, that the simple act of just cleaning and greening a vacant lot drastically reduces not only violent crime, but also increases mental health. They found that roughly there was a decrease of 29% in gun violence, as well as a decrease of around 40% in feelings of depression by residents in that area. And that's remarkable for something so simple. So let's take it to the next level. Not just clean and green those vacant lots, but consider growing on those vacant lots and really produce a localized economy where we're growing our own food, healthy food, organic food. There's really something intrinsic and powerful about community gardens. Beyond the fact that they grow food, it connects individuals. And there's one quick story I want to share, and it's a garden down at 25th and Reed called Growing Home that was created by Nationality Service Center, the Baptist Church there, and PHS. And it was meant to connect Congolese, Bhutanese, Burmese refugees, as well as local residents of the Grays Ferry neighborhood. And it was really remarkable. Individuals from that neighborhood really took it upon themselves to learn about their fellow gardeners, the refugees from Burma and Bhutan, to learn about their stories and to study that and become friends. So it's really powerful beyond the fact of growing food. So, not only are we employing people, but we're addressing issues of mental illness, we're addressing issues of depression, we're addressing an economy, and we're also building community. And really quickly, I know I have 1 minute left. I didn't mention I brought my object, but I could talk about that another time. I wanted to read something from a book called The One Straw Revolution by Masanobu Fukuoka, who was, preached natural farming. And it says here, I believe that a revolution can begin from this one strand of straw. Seen at a glance, this rice straw may appear light and insignificant. Hardly anyone would believe that it could start a revolution, but I have come to realize the weight and power of the straw. For me, this revolution is very real. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin Trezza of the Philadelphia Horticultural Society. Pennsylvania. There's a lot of, similar letters here. So we're sticking on the garden and the horticulture bandwagon. And also, I know Kai was earlier talking about the importance of young people. So I'm super impressed with this next presenter that we have today. So at age 19, talking about young people getting involved, she took part in co-founding Urban Creators, where she is currently the co-executive director and executive producer of HoodStock Community and Arts Festival. So please welcome the co-CEO and co-founder of Urban Creators, Jeaninne Kayembe.
I have a little theater background and I hate the mic. Or do I need it for the broadcast? I think we need it for the broadcast. Okay, I'm gonna see how I can do it. I'm gonna bring this with me. Yeah. All right. Harriet Lowe, Harriet Lowe, oh, Harriet Lowe, Harriet Lowe, Harriet Lowe with the shotgun swinging, crossing a chop tank and she ain't fishing, feet bare and eyes wide and she ain't tripping over rocks to pop Glocks and save them children, moving logs and hopscotch, running the Mason-Dixon, fixing the sawed-off 12 gauges being christening, consolations glisten like a whole family again, alignment means time spent, she was a general to twice the men that wish death upon she, walk in the darkness and still can see, 30 knee deep in a marsh, her compass was tree bark, the tobacco that she sparked was mesquite and harsh, best believe she was a mark hitting them targets like darts, Harriet Lowe with the shotgun swinging, crossing a chop tank and she ain't fishing, feet bare and eyes wide and she ain't tripping over rocks to pop Glocks and save them children, moving logs and hopscotch, running the Mason-Dixon, fixing the sawed-off 12 gauges being christened. Harriet Tubman was the first eco, job, sustainable, whatever y'all want to call this, right? Along with Banneker, along with, Carver, along with Du Bois, along with all of the rest of the greats, even the Black Panthers, right? Eco, sustainable, all that before we were thinking about any of these things. So I say that because Harriet created a culture of being free. It wasn't just everyone was like, you know what, let's decide to be free, let's do it together. No, she created a culture of it. It was actually cool to go back and save your friends or to be a part of the Underground Railroad. So I think something that Urban Creators has been cultivating over the past 10 years is the culture of what sustainability looks like. Because the sustainability doesn't always look like solar or hybrid cars or whatever we think that sustainability looks like, climate change, right? No, sustainability looks like the young boys in the hood getting jobs, right? Single mothers being able to, yes, have homes to even put solar panels on top of. So at Urban Creators, we have parties, we do all different types of events, panel discussions, dinners, breakfasts, all the things, right? But that's so that people can get used to going to a farm and getting their food from a farm. Because when we first started, people were like, that food is dirty. And it's like, where do you think the food comes from in your own grocery store? It's from the same dirt. Ours is actually a little bit better, even though we're in North Philly. And when we're thinking about working with young people around sustainability, around green jobs, it's okay to tell them that you can be an artist. It's okay to tell them that you can be a graphic designer. It's okay to tell them that you can be an activist speaking out on these things, because one, there's not too many Black and brown people that are put on these pedestals that are talking about sustainability, right? So the fact that we're even have enough courage to do so is a viable job for a young person in this economy. So I really, challenge folks that work with young people, put it in their education. Right now, I'm making music that talks about recycling, that talks about, tidal waves, that talks about all of these things. And that's a lot of what we're doing, is really trying to create art and content that speak to young people specifically, and to just, young people is a spectrum, of course, we know that, but just to get folks in general that have been living on the margins for so long to understand that it's always been in our legacy and our heritage. It's hereditary in us for us to be using these sustainable practices. It's not a new thing that has come. Our ancestors have been doing all of this. We just have to remember, and we have to bring that ancient knowledge to its contemporary. So that's why I rap about Harriet Tubman and not just, do a classical song about her or whatever else I could be doing, because it speaks to the young people who are going to carry this tradition on. And we've employed hundreds of young people over the past 10 years, including ourselves. And like they said, I started at 19 years old. I just turned 29, and I'm able to, time's up, and I'm able to actually say that I've had a viable career as an arts, environmental justice person that lives as that. So I hope we encourage our young people and each other to continue to do the same. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Jeaninne. So Jeaninne was our final presenter. And so a couple of things. I'm just for the live broadcast, I'm Sarah Lomax Reese from WURD, and we're broadcasting live from the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, 128 North Broad Street. So right now, I want to do like three things. I want to ask, and I'm channeling Kai, I want to ask how many people in this room are between the ages of 18 and 35? I'm just curious. Okay, so let's count. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It looks like it's almost half. Maybe? Wait, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Maybe about half? Yeah? More than half? Ooh, yes. Okay, let's give ourselves a hit. That for WURD, that's something that we're really aggressively trying to do in 2019, is be more intentional about reaching a younger audience and demographic. So today's event is also about, attracting this 18 to 35-year-old demographic. So I hope you guys will tune in. I hope you guys will stay connected with us beyond this. And so to that point, we have a survey that I want to see if you can do right now. We have a paper survey out there, but we also have it on online. And so if you don't want to do it right now, that's okay. But if you go, and do we have it? Okay. So it's kind of complicated. We didn't get something really easy and cool. But if you can look at doing bit.ly/ sorry, I know, bit.ly/ ECO, lowercase, it is case sensitive, ECO, capital WURD, I think that's it, survey, SURVEY, lowercase. If you can go there, I know it's kind of a complicated, and it's a very short survey, it would be great, and then we can stay in touch with you. So that's one thing I wanted to do, and we're getting ready to transition into part 2 of this program. And my question to you is, we can take a 5-minute break and come back and do the interaction with the presenters, with the Q&A from the audience, or we could just keep rolling and set up the chairs and keep going. So what do you prefer? Do you want us to keep going and take a break? Okay, somebody's going like this back there. Or do you want to take a break and go out. Keep rolling. Okay, I got keep rolling from multiple people. We're going to keep rolling. Okay, so do the survey. We're going to put the chairs up here, and then there are 2 microphones. There's a microphone on each side, and so you'll have an opportunity to ask questions to these 7 amazing presenters. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you so much, you guys. We encourage you to go to EcoWURD.com and to greenphillyblog.com and check out our websites, and obviously wordradio.com as well. We are going to be doing WURD is going to be doing a really exciting initiative in the month of March for Women's History Month, where we're celebrating emerging leaders in Philadelphia who are young Black women leaders between the ages of 18 and 35. And so we have a contest that's going to be happening called Level Up, a celebration of women who got next. And so it's an opportunity to nominate a young Black woman between 18 and 35 in Philadelphia. And actually, we're doing it in partnership with 2 other radio stations, independently owned Black stations in Chicago and LA. So WVON in Chicago and KJLH in LA. And we're identifying young Black women leaders in all 3 markets, Philly, Chicago, and LA, who will be celebrated and acknowledged. Oh, it's time. Oh, you're listening to WURD, 900 AM and 96.1 FM. I was told to do the radio ID. So, little commercial break right there. But yeah, we're doing this really interesting contest. So we want to encourage folks to go to our website, wordradio.com, and submit a name of, and I think there are probably several in this room right now. So I want to welcome the panel up to the stage. Watch this little, don't trip up on this little lip on the stage. And we have 2 handheld mics that we're going to pass around. So if people have questions, if you can, you can line up at either one of the microphones. We've got one on each side. And I'm going to, yeah. So do you want to start? Do you want to say your name? Is it on? I think it's on.
Is it on?
Okay, yes,
okay.
It's on.
My name is Manuel Jimenez. I'm a Philadelphia native. I did go to Temple for a few years, took a couple classes in sustainable design, as well as just like overall, I guess, greening the environment and what's the word I'm looking for? Restoration in the area. I came to this event because I heard advertised that there were going to be, if you were interested in getting employed with any jobs around sustainability, that this would probably be a good event to check out. I did run pretty late, so I don't know if I missed anything from the panelists already about that, but if there's any information you all can share about jobs that are available in the area, that'd be great.
Sure. This is Todd with Solar States. Feel free to talk to Kai Rai about any of the education programs that we run for training people to be solar installers.
What was the name of it again?
Solar States.
Solar States, okay.
And then we do have a local hire program. We always interview and meet with people. Hiring people is directly related to how much solar we sell, and we're trying to sell as much solar as possible.
Yeah, for anyone that knows anyone or that is 13 to 21, we have a 6-week summer program at Urban Creators for young people to basically produce the music festival and grow some good vegetables the whole summer.
Can you say your name when you speak, because we're on the air?
Hey Air, this is Jeaninne Kayembe at WURD 900 AM.
I could share something real quick. This is Justin from the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society. So if you are interested in jobs related to horticulture, I know horticulture is a wonky word, but if you're interested in any jobs related to plants, trees, I know we do have a lot of job postings right now. And the job I'm looking for isn't open yet, but I will be looking for someone to do a lot of community outreach and engagement. So if you're a people person, like to do, work in communities, then definitely look at that.
Can I correct that real quick? We do have vendors or organizations out in the lobby area, and they too have resources and job information out there. So you might want to spin by there on your way out. Next question, we'll take one from over here. Yes.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. My name is Stephen Salgeller. I'm just an ordinary citizen. I'm wondering if people can be clever or creative to combat climate change and get the things moving in the right direction. I'll give you a couple examples of that, and you can really tell I talk way too much, so I apologize in advance. There's something called beer wort. It's like residue left over from brewing. They've used it for like 5 or 10 years, at least in Boston and Milwaukee, in sensitive areas for roads. So like right by the airport, they actually use it in the airport or airport area. They use it for de-icing procedures. It's environmentally safe, and it's they use it in areas where they don't want a lot of runoff. So I don't know exactly how to use it, but I'm just recommending that as something that rather than just throwing stuff away or paying somebody to throw it away, you can actually use it for traction in certain areas, things like that you can do. Another example is something that I try to be brief about. It's just yesterday, Lake Erie was declared to be a live person that actually has human rights. And so the question is, can we say that, for instance, they want to frack in Pennsylvania, can we say that the actual Pennsylvania landscape and our water supply in the aquifer has rights because we have a right to clean water under our Constitution? The idea is, I hate to say this, to use capitalism to fight capitalism. If they want to frack here, say, no, you can't do that because the rights of the water supply is impinged on by fracking. You can't do that without some kind of compensation, or just do something else versus that. So I'm just throwing out a couple of suggestions for you.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to just see who wants to respond to that query, Frank. And what I would ask each person who's asking a question, if you want to direct it to one of our specific panelists, that would be great as well.
All right, so the speaker who suggested what really amounts to a series of policy decisions. What has to happen is we have to essentially make the behaviors that we do not want, the ones that use fossil fuels, for instance, the ones that create shortages of energy and space, we have to make those behaviors expensive. There's a whole system of thought pertaining to that, but that's a topic for a different day. We're going to focus on eco topics. But I thought your statement about using byproduct from the beer making process to be fairly innovative, and I was wondering if you might have something to say about that. I'm sorry, this is Frank Ortiz from Serenity Solar.
And this is Tess Hart with Triple Bottom Brewing Company. That was a great suggestion. I hadn't heard of the wort being used in that way. We are keeping it out of the landfills by using it as feed for cattle in the area. So that's our current plan, but I'm definitely going to look into this alternative solution that you guys suggested. So thank you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. And my question is for Mr. Ortiz, from you being in close proximity in the area that I live. Mm-hmm. And you just mentioned it in what you were talking about. My name is Shamar. I'm from South Philly. And I'm from a group, Philly Thrive. And we're fighting for the right to breathe for everybody in our city and a nation as well. Mm-hmm. And we have a problem with the refinery being a heavy pollutant, right? The biggest oil refinery on the East Coast. And I wanted to know, is there any way, everything that everybody on the panel talked about this morning is going to cost money, right? And they make money hand over fist and at our expense, because everybody in our area is getting sick from the pollutants, and is a high level of cancer and everything, right? We can go over the numbers, but we can't do it now, and it take time. But anyway, is there any way where we can make them pay to further our cause in creating green jobs and creating energy from green sources and stuff like that, because it's going to take money, and they got the money. They pay the fines. That's part of their budget. Every year, they got it in their budget to pay the fine because it don't hurt them. You know what I mean? They don't care about what they're doing. Just put it in the budget. We'll pay it. You know what I mean? Put us in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended one of your events, and it was from that event that I learned that PES is losing money right now, even in spite of the subsidies that are given at the state and federal level. So that's kind of a problem that's going to begin to take care of itself. Let's be clear. This is a state that had on the table a proposal for a carbon tax that was shelved by the prior governor of Pennsylvania. That's an example of a way you could begin to address that. That goes into that whole system of making the undesirable behaviors, CO2 emissions, expensive by putting a price on that. Because the truth is, if you don't, you're granting a privilege. And what we've seen over the course of human history is when you grant privileges, privilege is expensive. And somebody has to pay for it. They're not, we are. And that has to stop. So that's pretty much it.
Next question.
Hi, everyone.
Somebody else want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond that,
I thought so.
we have to keep in mind, too, that Philadelphia has a serious problem around our poverty. And we have to figure out, when we talk about these issues, we have a process at our center, the Overbrook Environmental Education Center, of answering 3 questions. What's the issue? Why should I care? And then what can we do about it? Because we have to take into consideration the fact that when people are not eating, when they're not healthy, when their children are not safe, we have to take into consideration that these things may not be high priorities for them. And we want to make it a priority by making sure that we don't marginalize the conditions that they're already in. So we can figure out a strategy by addressing the concerns of people where they are and making sure that we do not overlook the fact that they may have other burdens in their lives. If we can take that into consideration, then perhaps we can bring the ideas of energy and the other industrialized impacts on their lives, we could bring that to their consciousness too.
Hello, my name is Shelly. Thank you so much to all the presenters. Thank you all for what you do in making the world a better place. My question specifically is for Kai and Todd. I'm curious, what are the challenges, not the misconceptions, but the challenges that you face today in making solar more prevalent in the city, and what we, the ordinary people, can do to help improve that situation?
Sure. There's a whole bevy of kind of, I would just say, simple things that are part of learning about things you don't always know about. Solar, we do solar on flat roofs all the time. People don't think you can do solar on a flat roof. We do solar on flat roofs all the time. Will solar cause my roof to leak? It will not. We have professional installers. There's a lot of products. Will solar worsen my roof? No, actually, it'll help it. The sun is the main thing that beats roofs up. So having solar panels on top actually preserves your roof, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a whole host of stuff like that. We just got to sort of do an education / not slimy sales thing about. And it's not yet a mature enough industry, even though it's been here for several decades, to be as good as selling like mortgages and stuff. I do think we need to innovate on financing a lot. Because to use the mortgage example, the people who buy solar most successfully use cash, and not everyone has cash, just like not everyone can buy a home outright. The very large majority of people get a mortgage, and there's a lot of loan products for solar, but it doesn't feel right for some people. It's not as established, so there's some innovation in the financial marketplace there. But the number one thing I believe, and we have this debate pretty much every day, is cost. People are comparing their expenses, and people don't really care about a lot of other stuff. And I think we need to be realistic about that and get our public policy right so that the true costs of fossil fuels are realized, and so that the true savings of solar, which do exist, can be sort of manifested very easily. And when that happens more successfully than it's happening today, we're gonna get it like that. In New Jersey compared to Pennsylvania is an interesting example, because if you just do a Google map on the satellite setting of New Jersey, you zoom in on a school or a large roof, 7 out of 10 times it's got solar on it. That's because someone made money there, and 9 out of 10 times you do that in Pennsylvania, it does not have solar on it, and it's simple economics, and we can change it.
This is Kai. Serenity Solar and a solar state. So my answer to that is, I keep it real basic in regards to that. Teach. If you know that the moment that I install your solar, that your Pico bill goes, you're using solar, and your Pico bill is saving, and that maybe 2 to 3 weeks later, Pico comes out and okays your meter, and now you get SRAX, which is credit, which is equity you can put on your house, it looks a lot more appealing that way. So Serenity Solar, we are trying to figure out the best way to crowdfund, fundraise, however it has to be done to get solar on houses that for people who can't afford it. So it's come down tenfold, but you still have certain people that can't afford it who need it the most. So that's another thing I feel like again, with the village situation, something as simple as starting a pool of money, like socioeconomics. We'll do one house, we'll all put in on it, and then next is my house, then is my house. Like, we just gotta be really innovative with ideas of ways to get solar on everyone's house. Because North Philly, where we're based out of, everybody needs solar on their house. Everybody needs solar, and everybody needs their house weatherized. So there's just teaching and keeping up with different ways and ideas of making that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jerome, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just one other point too. One of the other things you could do, there's state legislation around community solar. So when you talk about the issues of not having kind of infrastructure where you can support solar on your own property, the community solar will allow a property to be able to generate energy for a neighboring property. And so right now, you can't do that because you'll be considered an energy generator, which is competing with other people, and that's a different kind of problem. But support community solar legislation that will enable that opportunity to present itself.
Excellent. We've got quite a few questions. We got time, but we want to get right to the questions. Yes.
Okay. My name is Demka Braswell. I'm the administrator of R&B Farms, or a hydroponic farm, but we're also an integrated farm that does rural as well as regular urban farming. My question is two-part. One is for solar states. What can be done to have more businesses invested into solar in Philadelphia County? Right now, it stands that most businesses in this county have to be 50% off the grid or 50% on the grid. It's like you have a choice to either be with PICO or not, and then we as business owners have to pay a lot more in taxes just to be off the grid. For now, I know these things are changing and there's legislature going on, but what else can be done for small or medium-sized businesses like myself to kind of bring more companies into solar? Because from what I'm seeing as far as the numbers, it is better to be in an urban area with solar versus on the grid. And the second part is, what can we do as small businesses and small farmers to make sure that the hemp industry that's coming into Philadelphia, that we can keep those jobs here in Philadelphia as well as outside of the county. North Philadelphia as well as sections of West Philadelphia is big and primed for a huge industrial push with hemp. Where can we, private individuals, make sure that we are standing up and saying, we want these jobs here, we want these textiling jobs here, we want the living wage here? What can we do? Because right now, everything is focused outside of the county, and there's nothing wrong with farming outside of the county. That's its own issue in itself. But if Pennsylvania is going to be the urban and rural agriculture state, we need to start coming together and kind of saying, hey, we want these jobs here, we want this here, solar here. So it's,
yes,
what can we do?
Let's so I think Jeaninne wants to take the first part of your question, and then I don't know, Todd or Frank, somebody wants to take the solar question. So Jeaninne, Kayembe.
Of course, I'm going to take the hemp question. I was told that when the permits were out for growing industrial hemp, they were only $600. So I think we need to stay on our toes, and we need to, everyone in here could put in 30 cents sense, and we could have our own industrial hemp business, and your farm could be the lead of that. But I think what's happening is as we're trying to get into these other industries, like hemp and other products of the cannabis family, we really have to be on top of it when they're putting out these dates, because they're going to hide all the stuff. They're going to put it under somebody's email or whatever the case may be. So and they're putting it all out digitally, and I know some of us are used to having things in copy in hand. So
I just wanted you to say that. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get in front of it by making sure that if that's really the industry that you want to get into and we want to have those jobs, it's $600 we could do it. Promise.
Yep. Yeah, on the solar, I'll be really quick. The first thing is that, we should talk after because it's more complicated than we want it to be. But the first thing is that as a business, you actually get additional tax benefits under certain circumstances as compared to putting solar on a residence. And it might surprise some people, but the alleged Trump tax reform actually had some additional benefit for the solar industry for businesses buying solar because you can expense equipment in year one. So, but there's some particulars around that we should discuss. The other thing is that, and I'm not saying you're confusing this, but there is an off-grid system, has nothing to do with the grid. It's not tied to PICO or the power overhead, the wires. There is another thing about solar where you are grid tied called net metering. Net metering is very important for solar to thrive in certain parts of the country, including ours. The very quick version is that you need to look at solar on a full year cycle. The sun is higher in the summer, the days are longer, and so when we put a solar system on, the way it's designed is that it will overproduce, all else equal, it's a very simplified version, but all else equal, it'll overproduce in the summer, it'll underproduce in the winter, and the credits from the overproduction, whatever solar energy is not used at the property, that goes out to the grid, and people often say, well, you're selling the energy. What's happening is PICO credits you for that, and then during the winter, they give you those credits back. So off-grid is literally off-grid, and in many cases, that's not going to offer financial benefits in Pennsylvania at this time. As battery systems get cheaper, there's a real synergy that we're starting to see there, and that's its own other discussion. But you want to be grid-tied typically in Pennsylvania contemporarily so that you can get net metering, which is really how you get the full benefit of the solar given like our weather conditions and things. And we can talk more about that after.
Thank you. At one point, I know we got tons of questions, but I just want to ask, how much does it cost to install solar on a house?
We hate this question. It depends on the house and other circumstances, but a row home in Philly, a cash purchase, like I said, we can get your PICO bill. We can get a loan payment at about your PICO bill. That's our goal. Row home in Philly is like 12 to 14K if you're paying cash. Bigger home in Philadelphia in the suburbs is like 18 to 22 grand. And again, I don't want people to get sticker shock. There are loan products that make that, accessible in bites. And what we really try to do is get you 100% off of the grid, not every month, but over the course of that full calendar year, the way I described with the net metering. But everything is very specific to your roof, and we try to make it specific to your consumption. People use vastly different energy, even the same house, so it's not as simple as we want it to be, and that's why we need to talk with folks individually before they run away screaming, hearing a price.
Next question on this side.
Yes. First, I want to say thank you to WURD for this program, and I hope to see many, many more. And to thank Charles Ellison, because that's who I listen to. I'd like to know if there are any programs for assisting home gardeners. I know there's a lot of work with community gardeners, but like if someone wants to start gardening in their home, when you garden, you end up with surplus anyway, which you can share or sell or do whatever. But yes, that's what I'd like to know. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Justin Trezza.
Yeah, Justin Trezza from Pennsylvania Horticultural Society. So great question. I think there's a few options. First, if you live in the southwest Philadelphia area, I know Sankofa Farms at Bartram's is doing some work with community residents to do home gardening. So definitely check them out. Ty and Chris are kind of leading that effort. I think some other things include, so we're actually just started a gardener engagement team, which is focused more on the home gardener. So I'm sure they would be more than happy to help you out, so I could give you their contact. And then in terms of kind of redistribution of surplus, that's a great question, because yeah, there's a lot of waste that sometimes, you know, gardens create just because of excess produce. And through our City Harvest program, we connect gardeners with local food pantry to those experiencing food insecurity, food apartheid. So we could connect you with those individuals or groups and have, you know, help you with the donation process to whether it's St. Francis Inn or you name it.
Jeaninne?
Hey, this is Jeaninne. And yeah, if you come to Urban Creators, we're pretty much there all day, every day. Once the sun is out and nice and beautiful, we give away plants. Whoever's our farm manager at the time or fellow at the time will give you any advice that you need. So I would just say stop by any day in the summertime and you can get, whether it's soil or plants or seeds. We not only give our produce away for free, but we give away any other materials that folks need.
Excellent. We're going to go to this side. I just want to reintroduce for our listeners on air. We're broadcasting live a special program called the Future of Work in Philly's Green Economy, live from PAFA, the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts. We'll be here until 1 o'clock. You can still come down 128 North Broad Street, and we're going to go to our next question.
Hey, what's up? I'm Linnea. I'm an actor. I moved here in August, so I'm just learning about the local community and things that are going on here. And I'm wondering about the ways in which people are already telling your stories, like the stories of what you're doing, the stories of climate change, and the ways in which you wish people would.
And is that for anyone in particular?
I guess, yeah.
Who is?
Oh, no, I mean, sorry, for anyone. Yeah.
Who wants to take it? Go ahead, Jerome Shabazz.
So, that's an interesting question. We have a wonderful program with our youth called the Overbrook Youth Environmental Stewards Program called Oh Yes. And Oh Yes has a visual literacy component. As a matter of fact, one of our instructors, Alice Wright, is over there. She is helping our young people to create visual content to better explain the environmental conditions around them. And so they're doing videos, pictures, making rap songs and sort of literary content to express their ideas and values. And they're going to come up with a video that's going to be about 15 minutes long, and it's going to debut in the first week of April.
All right. Next question.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Luke, and with this year being a local election, I'm wondering about if there are any current initiatives that any of you are organizing around or mobilizing around that you think would be good for people to know, or conversely, if there's a wish list of things you would hope for people to be organizing or mobilizing around that may not currently be in the works.
Go ahead, Jeaninne. Does someone else want to say? Well, I want to hear from a few people, but you can go ahead and start.
Hey, this is Jeaninne again. So Urban Creators, even though we have been there for 10 years, we only have a 5-year lease agreement. We're in year 3 of that 5 years. So since it is our 10th year, we are really rallying but we're rallying all of our troops, our peoples, just to be in the space more, invest in the space more. So as you're thinking, anyone that's in the 22nd district, shout out to our allies in there. We really need folks to just be thinking of the space as an asset, because in the next 2 years, we're not too sure, depending on how the councilman feels, if we will be there or not. We have a really great relationship, so I feel like we'll continue to be there, but that's not for sure. So as we're thinking about who we're electing in the 22nd district, think for the farm as well.
Yeah, because we've got 2019, a big mayoral and city council election, and 2020, a big national election. So, Frank Ortiz?
Yes, and I was thinking about, earlier this week, I was at a workshop hosted by the Commerce Department with the idea of helping transition businesses that are set to essentially shut down because the owners are retiring, and transitioning those to ownership by the workers. And that's one initiative that deserves more attention. Right now, they're in the state of looking for prospective owners. one, and two, building an infrastructure to facilitate more of those transformations. Let's see here. Another initiative that is related to cooperatives is one between, go back to the Philadelphia Energy Authority and their Solarized Philly program, which has already gotten a great launch with hundreds of contracts signed and presumably more on the way. That one just needs more attention so that people, when they hear about this, when they talk to representatives about this, come from a position of trust and comfort and are more apt to sign on to what really is a great deal.
And Tess, we haven't heard from you in a minute, so I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay. This is Tess at Triple Bottom Brewing Company. I think we come from we're not organizing on the ground right now. We're literally just building a space at this moment. But I think we've gotten to know our neighborhood really well and all of the different community organizations there, and shout out to all of them if they're listening. They're so wonderful and really looking out for their neighborhood, which is, in transition, and sort of we look at neighborhoods in Philly changing. And I think it would just be great if that conversation continues to be part of the election conversation, how we make sure that people who are living in the neighborhoods that are facing gentrification get a chance to stay in homes that are affordable, get a chance to have a say in the changes that are happening. And I don't have a specific initiative in mind, but that's conversations that are continually ongoing in all of the meetings that we go to, and just really need to be top of mind, I think, right now at this moment in Philadelphia, that we're making sure that everyone has a voice in that.
Kai, you look like you want to say something.
I just, want to shout out the West Coast. Somebody in here knows what that's for. California definitely has set in policy that every new building, because there's a ton of construction in Philadelphia, it all has to have solar on it. So that'd be my thing. Any new buildings that are built have to have solar on it, no matter if it's residential, more commercial, because that's what we're seeing a lot of. Commercial, industrial buildings definitely having solar on it, and some type of way to make it easier for a homeowner to follow that same policy. That would be pretty much that's my wish list.
Excellent.
So
go ahead, Jerome Shabazz.
So we talk about policy. I have three things that come to mind. We want to make sure that we keep our eye on domestic toxins. We're talking about energy production, but we have areas of Philadelphia where there are high blood lead levels in children because we have this old infrastructure. And as we do more construction and people are tearing up buildings, and we have this dust, this lead dust is emitting in the air and it's getting in soil, children are coming in contact with it, and we're doing a better job of making sure that contractors do containment work, and that we make sure that we do testing and we do dust wipe sampling before we rent out properties. But we want to make sure we stay on top of that, because that can go away, because there's always this push from the industry to not have to do more work around these issues. So domestic toxins and lead awareness is one big thing we want to stay on top of. The other thing you want to look at is that we're getting ready to get a new water commissioner soon. The current water commissioner is getting ready to retire, and this whole effort around green infrastructure can go away. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that. And what's important about this green stormwater infrastructure is that over the past 7 years, the Philadelphia Water Department has been using this strategy to reduce the amount of stormwater that's going into our collector systems. But the concept around the green stormwater infrastructure is that it integrates more with communities. We haven't had that happen prior to the green stormwater infrastructure, where communities are now contributing to what kind of best practices can be used to make their neighborhoods beautified, using plants, using bump outs, using swells, using retention systems that are beautiful and not just architectural and engineering, but to have some kind of community benefit that goes beyond the infrastructure changes. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on that. And the third thing that I wanted to talk about is this idea of Brownfields. Our facility was built on a Brownfield site, and if you're not familiar with that term, these are old industrial buildings and facilities that were left behind because the cost for remediating it was so expensive. And you see a lot of these buildings in North Philadelphia and West Philadelphia, old warehouses. Ours was an old supermarket. And in the 1950s, when our building was built, they had transformers, the things you see on light posts, they were in the building. And the reason why they didn't overheat because they had PCBs in them. And we all know that that stuff is toxic and it can cause cancer. But it was inside the building, and luckily it didn't seep into the soil. But we have facilities like that all around the city, and we have to make sure we stay on top of those issues so that people unwittingly are not poisoned because of just being where they are.
Excellent. So we have about 10 more minutes before we do like a final wrap up. So I want to make sure we get to these last like 7 questions. So if we can keep them nice and tight, that would be great. Yes, my dear.
Okay, good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
My name is Aminat. I'm going to try to quickie this. My question comes out of the statement that Kai made and flipping it over to solar states. One, you raised the question about west, south, and sections of the city that do not have the awareness and education in reference to solar. I live in what may be defined as a underserved community. I have been trying to educate my community about solar by way of energy equals power over poverty. What many of the residents that are defined as underserved say, that's not for us. Solar is not for us. 1, due to the cost. 2, due to the fact that you're not communicating it and educating it and bringing it to us. Number 3, you have these barriers that avoid those who are defined as living in underserved communities. Your criteria are barriers that continue to keep those type of people from accessing and acquiring solar. I can speak personally because I went through the system. You did not approve me for solar due to 1, you're on cap. Number 2, you have to have 12 months that you have paid your PICO bill on time. Now, if you're talking about underserved communities, tell me how many are not on cap. Tell me how many middle income has.
Aminata, I love
and I
you.
want to give a shout out to ECA. I went through the solar training installation program. You're on point.
All right. Thank you, Aminata. Aminata is like one of our most tried and true, trusted WURD attendees and members. So we love you, Aminata. So we're going to get the answer. Here we go, Kai.
First and foremost, you know I love you. I know Aminata personally, so she gives the passion that I give. So I got to answer you. And it's not that you had an answer. Bam. I'm gonna be honest. I don't meet those criteria in myself. I missed a couple of payments on my PICO bill and wasn't on time. So I can't. I mean, I'm not in charge of that, but what I do with Serenity Solar is I make sure that I get out and I try to give as much awareness as possible about our training programs, as much as possible. My last 20 Uber drivers, I have tried to sell them solar, and if not tried to sell them solar, I told them if there's a young person, ECA, OIC, or just go to PEA, come holler at me at Serenity Solar. If you want me to come out and come talk about solar, I will come out and come talk about solar. Plain blank period. It don't matter who you are, where you at, in the city. Just make sure you got a cup of coffee for me and don't do it too early in the morning. That's all I ask. But criteria and other things like that, I'm gonna pass on to Todd if you wanna have anything to say, or.
I don't know that, I want to clarify one thing. I'm not sure I'm going to have that much that's helpful to say for you particularly, because I don't know anything about your circumstance, but happy to talk after about your house and if it was with solar states.
It's not about me.
Right.
Right. But the specifics do matter, and I'm going to mention why. We're a solar installation company. In Australia, my understanding is that you can hire us to put someone like us to put solar on your house by default. It's called by right. And you don't need to check with the city. You don't need to check with the building code experts. You don't need to check with the electricians that oversee the electrical code. And you don't need to check with the utility that owns the wires outside your house. And that makes it a lot cheaper to put solar on people's homes. We have an engineer on staff We have to do, for every installation, a building permit and an electrical permit with what's called the AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction, which in this case is the city of Philadelphia. And then to be grid tied, so you get net metering, we have to get approved by PICO, and that's called interconnection. So I don't want to pass the buck exactly, but I want to be clear that when people are talking about the process, and there's a lot of reasons some of those things are good. If we didn't have regulation for the electrical code, there'd be a lot more fires, I would guess. If we didn't have, we're spending more time and more money on our regulatory environment because of all the property collapses. So those things add costs to businesses, and that's its own side debate. But if you were interested in solar in your house in Philadelphia, you have to get at least 3 organizations saying yes, and those 3 are not the people putting the solar on, and it's a cost and it adds time. And personally speaking, I'm a citizen, so I don't want fires everywhere because we have unregulated electrical work. But as someone involved in the solar business, it'd be much better if we didn't have to have 3 different organizations approve every individual system. And my guess is that outside of the financials, that one of those processes was also part of your frustration.
I'm going to take real quick because we got to wrap it up.
I hear you. All right. So when I hear about the PICO bill requirements, that sounds like something that would satisfy a bank. And I don't know. That's if we want to equitize things, we want to make it easier for people who are even mostly consistent with that to be able to finance, to get the financing for their solar panels. Now, the only thing PICO should have to worry about is the impact of that additional solar power generation on the grid. Because from the time that comes in, they have to do an entire analysis of the entire grid that they're responsible for and make sure that it remains stable. That's important. That's the extent that the PICO application should go to, not your ability to pay bills.
That's the criteria on their materials, Solarized Philly.
I agree with you.
So we're going to take the next question.
Greetings.
We got to keep it tight.
My name is Olaniyan Adefumi, and I have one thing that I fear that I believe is a growing problem that's going to explode. The way we have energy delivered to us through pipes and other means, those items are depreciating. Who's going to clean them up and stop them from getting into our water, whatever?
That's a great question. Anybody want to take that? Jerome Shabazz, go ahead. That's you.
That was the whole essence of what we were trying to get at with 5 minutes. It was hard to do it, but the point is that we do have old infrastructure, and when we talk about economies, the idea is that these are potential opportunities for employment. We have to maintain our infrastructure, we have to maintain our city, and maintaining our waste, maintaining our energy infrastructure is a job. And too often, we are consumers of this benefit, and we need to be more integrated within it. So therefore, think about the opportunity of being able to, instead of noticing what's going on with waste and trash and debris, see it as an opportunity. See it as a way of upcycling, what we call waste diversion, to be able to divert it so that it doesn't go to a landfill. How do we do it? I mean, we've done a number of programs where we've created mosaics. And the mosaics were all a result of debris and trash and discarded materials that were in a particular community. And that waste diversion now enabled that material to become upcycled as art as opposed to trash on the ground. And the same thing with other infrastructure too, where if we have thousands of miles of piping that's getting old, and part of the reason why we're doing this green infrastructure work with stormwater is because our piping is so old that we can't disconnect it fast enough from the combined sewers. So therefore, we're diverting flow so that it doesn't even get to the combined sewer, where it can cause problems with contamination of our waterways. So the idea of seeing it as an opportunity is a greater part of the process, as opposed to recognizing what we already know. We have this old infrastructure and it needs to be corrected.
Okay, Todd.
Two quick things. On the solar, there's a piece of equipment for your average solar installation called an inverter that converts the energy from what's produced on the roof to what we commonly use, DC to AC. Just like the little box when you plug your computer in, that's also an inverter. And the future of energy is one, or the way the industry is trying to drive it, where right now, if you talk to a utility executive, they're going to say, well, we need this type of power plant, this type of power plant, this type of power plant for the different loads that happen. At 5:30 p.m., everyone wants to use energy in their home. But at 2 p.m., we don't need that much energy. And that is one of the reasons that we still have this kind of baseline load discussion. Do we need coal? Do we need nuclear? This type of thing. It's way above my pay grade. It's very complicated. But where the solar industry is trying to go and where the technology's promises is that inverters as part of solar systems will at certain times of the day be able to support the grid. So rather than just the energy being converted from your rooftop to what you can use there's a lot of pilot programs that utilities are doing, not PECO yet, but PPNL, which is in Allentown. They're doing a pilot program where the inverters in homes, 50 of them it will be, are actually going to be supporting the grid and creating resiliency. Not necessarily in lieu of a coal-fired power plant, but as part of experimenting to see like how we can create what's called decentralized generation and have it be contributing to the resiliency of the grid, which will ultimately lower costs and make it so that if a storm takes a wire down, it doesn't have as big an impact, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I just want to mention, a little off topic for us, is we rely on partnerships. Like I said, the Energy Authority is here. It's a great Philadelphia, City of Philadelphia organization, and they're part of bringing solar to low and moderate incomes, it's a new area and we need a lot more work there. They're a big partner in that. They also, with a little bit of controversy because of how it relied on a private company, they've furnished for Philadelphians an insurance program for the water main between the street and your house. And many people don't know this till they get the bill, but homeowners are actually responsible for the piece of pipe that goes from the main into your house. So it's the piece of pipe that runs from under the street into your basement. And it's not an expensive piece of pipe to replace, but to get to it is expensive. And that can be like a $4,000 to $6,000 bill if that breaks, because you have to dig the concrete on the sidewalk, get down, place the pipe, redo it all. So the Energy Authority created, again, with a little bit of controversy because they worked with a water authority to do it, a program that I think is very cost competitive and people should look at. It's an insurance program for that specific piece of plumbing so that you're paying something per month rather than this huge bill when you're under duress because you don't have water to your house. And I just thought it was germane to what you were asking about.
So, Jeaninne,
Two seconds.
Okay,
Thank you.
But let me just say this. Going forward, we're going to have one question and one response, okay?
Yeah.
Just so we get to everybody, because we're like up against the clock. Go ahead,
The last
Jeaninne.
thing I want to say for everyone's questions is I know we're all environmental activists and know so much about this work. And I think that these questions are so gigantic. It's like, how do we solve the thing? The way to solve the thing is to overthrow all of these gigantic corporations who are polluting the environment in the first place. And then, like this young man said, to look
Jerome
at all
Shabazz.
of these things as opportunities to create your own business that then has the sustainable practices. Because we shouldn't be running off of direct current in 2016. Tesla is turning in his grave. He already found a way for us to have free energy. It's been here since the 1800s. So when we're looking at all of these things, climate change and all of this, we found opportunity in creating businesses that will further in the future be sustainable. But all the problems that are happening now are because of these gigantic corporations who exist that all of us in this room and in this city should burn down.
Okay. Well, all right. That was Jeaninne Kayembe. Okay? That was Jeaninne from Urban Creators. Okay. We're going to go to our next question. One question, one answer. So if you have a specific person.
I promise I'll keep it quick. My name is Ritu Jadwani. I have a sustainable and ethical clothing line where we partner with different label women to create employment opportunities for them in India. So I'm an entrepreneur and we recycle all our production waste to create new products, so small pouches, keychains, etc. I have two questions, sorry. Tess, one for Tess. Tess, I noticed that your background is in forestry and you recently got your MBA. My question is, what inspired you to work with beer and connect it to social enterprise? My second question is for Justin. Sorry. Our university is planning a trip to the flower show, and I'm really excited to go for it. My question is, how do you dispose all the flowers and the decoration after the event? Sorry, I don't want to put you in the spot, but I was just curious.
Two powerful questions. All right. Tess.
Thank you for your question. This is Tess with Triple Bottom. So yes, I studied business, I studied environmental management. My background is in community development. All of these things sort of come together in Triple Bottom Brewing Company. The reason I fell in love with breweries is because they are community spaces. They are places where people gather. And I would go to breweries and really see beer bringing people together. I am an introvert. This is a terrifying experience to be up here with all of you. But at breweries, I was talking to strangers because barriers come down. But I also started to notice that breweries tend to be, not intentionally, but they can become fairly exclusive places that only feel comfortable for certain types of people. And so what we are really trying to do with our brewery is to use it as a space that sort of builds on this idea that beer can bring people together, that breweries are for community, but make sure that everyone in our community can be a part of that. And that's through our job creation program that's accessible to everyone in our community. That's through partnering with our neighborhood organizations to make sure that we are serving them and their needs first and foremost. And that's through making sure that we are really being as responsible as we can be with respect to sustainability, because ultimately sustainability is everyone's job and it's everyone's opportunity. And so when we can build a place that is taking care of our environment and it's making it a better place for everyone to live, and that's what we're really trying to do with Triple Bottom.
Justin?
Thank you. I'll probably be short because I actually don't know the answer because I'm just on the sidelines of the flower show. They just give me my responsibilities and I do them. But I can say that some of the plants are redistributed to members, individuals through, at the end of the flower show, we do something at our farm up in Meadowbrook. So people can, it's kind of like I forget the exact terminology. But the other plants, the challenge is when you're growing for the flower show, you're forcing the plant in an environment like a greenhouse. So after the flower show, their life expectancy is pretty much done with. So they're pretty much like the flowers. They're not going to serve much purpose. But I know the people running the flower show on that side are really trying to minimize waste. I know the floral industry is an extreme pollutant, especially in countries like Ecuador. So I think that's something the organization is thinking about very seriously. But we are trying to minimize that. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
you both.
Thank you. We've got 4 more questions. One question, one answer.
Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Lynn Robinson. I'm the director of a group called Neighbors Against the Gas Plants. We've been focused, thank you, we've been focused on trying to stop Septis gas plant in Nicetown. We're also a member of another new alliance called the Pass on Gas Alliance, which is trying to stop the new LNG plant in Southwest Philly, which is right next to the refinery, and will add more pollution to that neighborhood, and also encourage more gas usage in our city and in general. So my question is about methane. And I heard pipes mentioned, and the problem of pipes breaking and leaking. Well, the gas network of pipes is definitely leaking methane and warming the planet. I don't know if natural gas has been mentioned.
Your question.
So I don't know whether natural gas has been mentioned here today, but I'd like to know about this carbon tax idea. When, or maybe there's another term for it.
So you want to ask about
I want to ask if methane is including the leakage from the pipeline, from the drill site, not just at the burn site. But if methane leaks, which make natural gas the most warming to the atmosphere of all the fossil fuels, are methane leaks part of your carbon tax formula?
Okay. Who wants to answer that? Does anybody? Yeah. You want to answer, Frank?
It's not mine.
Okay.
First of all, it's not my, I mean, this has been posited by,
on y'all side.
yes. No,
Well, it's not a
So-
matter of size, it's knowledge.
all right,
So
so,
I have something I could contribute to that real quickly. It's related to my question, if you want.
sure, go for it, sir.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is this is all interrelated. This room should be packed, right? It should be packed. And the answers are political, they're social, they're environmental, there's justice, job justice. All these issues are human issues. And we should all be involved on the advocacy level, boots on the ground, jobs. We should be all in all of these. And my question wasn't really going to be a question. I just wanted to thank everybody and the sponsors for putting this together. And there's an incredible Philadelphian who is doing all these things, and she's absolutely amazing. She puts out an email, just came out at 10:15 this morning, every week that links all of these meetings, all these organizations, and we should all be packing these rooms all the time. And I want to give you her email address really quick. It's Meenal Raval, and it's MEENAL.Raval, RAVAL, @gmail.com. Send her an email, ask her to get on her list.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Frank, did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead. Say something.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, so we're talking about methane. Methane is chemical formula CH4. That's one carbon. And when it burns, it produces carbon dioxide. So by definition, a carbon tax would act to make production of that more expensive. So yeah, just carbon tax would work on the production and consumption of methane and other hydrocarbons like that have carbon and hydrogen in it. All right, so it would. I'm all for it, but that's a political question that's better addressed by someone who's used to dealing with that over in Harrisburg.
All right, we're going to take the last two questions real quick.
Hi, my name is Keegan. I'm a graduate student at Jefferson. One of the things that I'm coming to terms with as I'm studying is that going to university is not necessarily necessary. That it's a large burden to many people, and being that there's a number of youth in this room and those on air potentially, what are the disconnects do you see, probably to Jerome or Kai, I would imagine, what's the number one issue in Philadelphia of engaging youth to target them towards this new wealth of green jobs and not necessarily towards unnecessary university?
Kai.
First things first, I remember my grandmother telling me, and all my great uncles, every last one of them got a trade. We stopped pushing people to get trades and we sent everybody to college. And that's the problem. When I have kids, I don't care what you want to go to college for, you gotta get a trade first. That's the number one thing. If you're in a trade, you have to know you gotta have math skills, you gotta have common sense is not common. You have to have common sense to do half of these trade jobs. So that's part of the burden right there. Prime example, if every last one of you guys had a trade before you went to college and was able to do the trade while you were in college, you wouldn't have as much college debt. So it's all tied together. I push for trades and I push for STEM. Just integrate it. You'd be surprised. If you like rap music, there's a thing called BPMs. So if you like trap music, you incorporate it with math, do PPMs. Anybody that's into music knows exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, there's tons of ways to integrate everything into each other. So I just put it to you like that, and colors are a process, so think about that too.
Last question.
Hi, my name is Hanifa. My question is, I know you are focused on the children, is why I brought my 17-year-old here, but what about for those who are over 35 who are extremely interested in solar and alternative energy?
Okay.
And want to teach and also want to learn and work?
So the wonderful lady in the blue glasses can, right here to your left, I had to figure out which way you were standing, sorry. So Aminata is a person that can vouch for you, that we offer courses. So when I say we, I mean me, in conjunction with Solar States and PEA, OIC and ECA. ECA does a program with the school district. So you got a chance to get in with ECA. You can also go in ECA for their own courses. OIC has that offer courses that's in the same building with Youth Build. They offer courses. And again, like I said, if you got a weekend and you're willing to feed me and give me coffee, I could teach you as much as you want to know too. So, I'm willing to, give you that, and we could do the one-on-one too. So that's up to you. Anybody?
So that was our last question, and I know that we have resources outside. We have an opportunity for folks to, I guess, network and engage. I mean, obviously, in this room, not just on this stage, are people who are doing amazing, incredible work in this space. So I think we want to create some time and space for folks to network. I'm thinking that I want each person to just give one word that you want to leave the audience with as we wrap up. And so we're going to start with you, Kai, because you're warmed up.
It's not one word. That's already not one word. It takes a village. I'm going to just leave it right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and building on that, it takes all different ideas.
Thank you, Harrisburg, Spring 2019.
Trust each other, listen to each other, learn from each other, work together.
Self-determination.
Our people been doing this.
We need to get away from it. We need to get past environmental justice and get into environmental freedom.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today, and give one more round of applause to the speakers, please. Yeah, I'm Julie from Green Philly. We'll be out there too if you want more information on us. Thank you to WURD for co-hosting and also putting this on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So one more big round of applause for the panel.